Hey everybody, Chevy Nobody Else's Auto, back out here on the Kansas prairie, checking some stuff out in old pasture, including this old 55 Chevy grain truck. So let's take a look at this, exactly where we found her, and then we're going to get her loaded up, get her hauled back to the yard, and we'll take a little bit better look at it. Old 1.5 ton, 55 Chevy, still has part of the bed on it. We're going to knock all that off before we haul it. Just pulled a 39 Buick out of this hole. We got it loaded on the trailer. And got to go back in, get it unloaded, and got several of them out here to get, and we'll come back out here, get this old Chevrolet loaded up, get her back to the yard and take a better look at it. Not getting the rack, they'll haul all that, get all that stuff off the back of it, but you can kind of see as we look off onto the horizon, not a lot out here, but sometimes you got to go where this stuff's been sitting for years, and that's kind of what we got out here. So we'll take a little bit better look at this one once we get her hauled back into the yard. Well, we've got this old Chevy drug back to the yard, and it's rough. There's no doubt about it. We kind of figured that when we found it, but it's here. There's still bits and pieces on it, and that's what's important. The other option was it was heading to the shredder. So when they're flat, we obviously know they're not really good for much of anything. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at it. We come over here to this side, we come to the back, we see it does have a big flatbed on it, and they did get everything cleaned off of the back of this before we hauled it in. It had that big metal rack on it, things like that. So iron guys took all that, it's gone, don't have to deal with that. It does have some big mirrors, but there again, this thing, as you can tell, there's still a little bit of remnants of this wood. This would have had full sides on it. This thing would have been designed to haul grain. You need a big mirror to see around that bed. Like we've always talked about on a lot of these videos, these things are work trucks. They weren't highly prized. They weren't collectible, not like they are now, but these things were built to work. This one actually, we can see where it did have the factory mirror on it, but you got a little round mirror head here and a big grain box on the back. Just didn't do you much good. So not uncommon to see mirrors like this added to these types of trucks. Inside, this one's had some critters living in it in the past. We can look over here, we do see a lot of the stuff still in the dash, still has the cluster in it. Lots of bits and pieces still left on this one, but she's a little rough around the edges, and we knew that when we bought them. Almost everything that came off this farmstead was a little rough. There was this truck, there was a 51 Chevy, a 58 Chevy pickup, a 64 Impala, a 50 Chevy four-door, and they were all rough. And there was no doubt about it. When I bought them, they were rough, but there again, it was an iron deal. So either we brought them in here, saved what we could save, or they were heading to the shredder, and there was nothing left for anybody. So we'll come on around the front of this big 55 Chevy truck. And we get up around the front, and we see this nose obviously was specific to these bigger trucks with this grill here. Kind of stood up on a couple of pedestals. Had the Chevrolet stamped into the sheet metal on that one. This one, kind of cool thing about this, even though it's a little rough, old school Chevrolet USA 1 tag still on the front of this one. This unique to 55, late 55, hood badge still here, pitted up but not broken. But there again, that was a second series 55 piece only. Under the hood of this one, 6-cylinder power, as was most of these old Chevys. You could get a V8 in them, but realistically, most of them were 6 cylinders, and that's kind of the way this one was. As we come around over here to the other side, we see once again we've got our big mirror up here. Add-on turn signals. There again, when you're going into the elevator, and there's a lot of grain trucks in there, a lot of these big trucks, they're not very quick, not very nimble, they're hard to see around. Those type of accessories, these extra lights, the big mirrors, the clearance lights, all that type of stuff, important when you're hauling these big loads of grain. These trucks were heavy and big, and you needed to know what the rest of the traffic was doing. And you don't think about a truck like this being stuck in traffic. You're not driving this through the city. But during wheat harvest in Kansas, there was a lot of traffic at the elevators. You'd see rows of these trucks for miles back in the day. Now that's all kind of gone in today's world. A lot of guys have gone to semis. You don't see these old grain trucks, but 30, 40 years ago, there would be rows and rows of these parked for miles along the highway trying to get into the elevator and get unloaded. Weed harvest was a big thing. Time was critical, and these things had to keep moving, and you didn't have time for accidents. Over here on the passenger side of this old 55 Chevy, kind of more the same as the other side. Still got the glove box door. Some other miscellaneous small block Chevy parts laying here in the front seat. Not really sure where those came from, but like I said, there were several vehicles on this property. Stuff maybe come off that 64 Impala or something, who knows. A lot of times when you get into these farmsteads and there's several vehicles there, a lot of times things were robbed off one, used on the other, that type of thing. Not uncommon back in the day. But there again, just this, all that's left really is the bed. We can get a little better look at here, where this wooden side would have been. This would have stood up. It would have had full sides all the way around this thing. Most of that obviously rotted off and fallen off at this point in time, but back in the day, very, very important. This truck here, obviously in this condition, pretty much a parts truck, but there's still bits and pieces here. And considering it was heading to the shredder, we were at least able to save what is still here that's going to help some other guys with their project trucks. So there again, kind of weird thinking about today that these trucks were workhorses. That's all they were used for, but that was where they started. That was their life. This is a perfect example of one. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, seeing where it came from. Be sure to check out the other videos. Some of the other vehicles from this farmstead are already up on the channel. You don't want to miss any of those. And definitely click that subscribe button. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up that you're not going to want to miss. A lot of cool new inventory. I've had a ton of trucks rolling in. Cab over Ford right over there. Mercury pace car convertible. Some G-body GM stuff. Big block 9-passenger Chevy station wagon. Several more Ford pickups. A lot of cool stuff. You guys don't want to miss any of that. So click that subscribe button. Now with a couple thousand cars and trucks here on the ground and nobody else's auto, the only way to really get a hold of me and have a conversation about either your project or what you're looking for a project is a phone call. 620-786-4428. Give me a shout, and that way we can have a short conversation about your project, year, make, model, body style, the parts you need, things like that. I've got so much inventory here that I really need to narrow it down, so when I get out here, I know exactly what you're looking for and what you need for your project. See if I've got something that may or may not be able to help you out. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the old Chevy. Like I said, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. We've got a lot more cool stuff coming up. You don't want to miss any of it. Thanks for watching this video, everybody. We just hope to see you soon on the next one.